The views and opinions expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of 580 WCHS, its employees, or WVRC Media.
Yeah. You gotta work. You gotta work, grind, shine, it's mine. Gotta show everybody it's my time. Getting here, you gotta work, grind, shine. Never mind who talking down, cause they lying. Don't talk, you gotta work.
Welcome to Let's Talk with Carl Lee, where sports, culture, and community intersect. Join Carl and frequent co-host Hollis Lewis as they dive into engaging conversations with guests from all walks of life. Let's Talk is proudly presented by attorney Frank Walker. Real talk, real experience, real results. FrankWalkerLaw.com. Let the conversation begin on Let's Talk.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Carl Lee with Let's Talk and my co-host Hollis Lewis as we dive into different topics regarding, in most cases, I'm going to say sports, but sometimes we'll step outside of those boundaries. Today's show, Hollis and I will be discussing the new, and I'm assuming that it's a new thing, or we have to call it a new thing, that colleges are actually going to be paying its players, and the max, I think, is $20 million is the max that you can pay them.
Jeez.
And to me, I just think that is a huge number, well beyond, I think, it being reasonable. And I think when we look at this and when we start to think about it, the goal at this point would be get to college, not necessarily get to the NFL. You could go in and make $20 million if you hit that max. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, that's the end of it. So hopefully you will enjoy the conversation and the depth of it. And so I'm going to open it up a little bit here with Hollis, and just your idea when you first heard it, you first saw it, you first read it. What were you thinking?
I mean, well, I guess some people will argue that colleges paying players is nothing new. Some people would argue
that may be the case.
Yeah. But, I think, again, like I mentioned last week, I see this as probably the best step because you don't want to – I think we have to do something to rein in the wild, wild west. You don't want money coming from everywhere. And particularly, I think if you have it come from boosters or different companies associated with the school, that they can have an undue influence on the school and possibly the players and the coaches. But I think that, the exorbitant amount of money that's going to be coming in, how do you justify paying that player X millions of dollars, but that player still has to abide and go to class and different things like that? I just think you open up a can of worms that potentially you can't, put back in the can.
What do we do about D2, D3? Yeah. I mean, there are great players that will be playing on those levels, and I'm going to make the case that they don't have $20 million to give.
Yeah, and I think that, it's going to be like it always was. I think that, now coaches are going to be probably the process of recruiting, I would imagine, is going to be changed a lot because you're going to really, really have to know that kid, his family, the type of player he is, the type of work ethic, what is he doing in school, what he or she is doing in school on and off the court or field. So it's going to be the investigative process of trying to figure out, is this kid going to be sustainable? Are they going to be worth the money that we're paying them? So I think it's going to be a lot more scrutiny on the kids when they're coming to these big programs, signing these big deals. And for the lower schools, I think they're going to have to be a lot more creative in fundraising to try to, because they're going to have to get the kids something. I think the idea, or at least in the near future, that kids just play strictly for free is probably out the window. When I say free, I mean outside of whatever they're getting scholarship-wise.
Right. Well, so let me ask this question. Let's assume I'm being recruited by a major D1.
Yeah.
And I'm a nationally ranked player. Let's say I'm a quarterback and I'm the 10th best player in the country. Been rated the 10th best player in the country. And I decide I'm going to go to Alabama because they're maxing me out. What happens when all of a sudden let me ask this question first. Can you max me out at Alabama and I'm going to sit 2 years?
See, I think that's a good point, and I think these are all the little nuance and questions that's going to be flushed out here pretty soon, because just like we saw last week, or just like we discussed last week with the player from Florida, he came in, he signs a $1 million signing bonus. He's promised $14 million. Mm-hmm. It doesn't pan out. He doesn't start. And now, he's out. Now he's suing Florida and the coaches.
And again, because essentially a scholarship, you have to really do something. You have to break a legitimate rule to lose your scholarship. And whether or not people know this or not, like that line is a long line. Like it's going to take you a lot to do something wrong. I mean, if you break a law, it's not like you coming late to practice or something like that. They can't just pull that scholarship because you did something crazy.
And that's what I'm saying. I think the scrutiny now is that coaches are going to be a lot less tolerable. Like if something goes down, at a party, off the field, or even on the field or on the court, that player could potentially just be, hey, we're cutting everything, depending on how these deals are structured, which that's the part I'm intrigued about.
Yes. I think that is the interesting point. That's the most important piece of it, is how they structure this. What's the contract? You sign your name saying I'm going to Idaho. Okay? Mm-hmm. I'm going and I'm maxed out. I'm $20 million. You as the school, you as the coach, you have to tell me something. Like you can't do this, you can't do this. If you do this, this is going to cost you that. Mm-hmm. There has to be that. We haven't seen that yet. We haven't heard anything about that yet. It's all new, but it can't be free.
And then, how far does it go, right? Because now, our kid's going to now say, hey, look, I want X amount of dollars, plus I want dad or mom to be on the staff, or I want them to have a job at the school. I want them to apartment, a house, I want this, I want that. Like how far does it go? And then just to the point, like I said, if you're at 18, imagine being a 17. Some kids enter college at 17. You 17 to 18-year-old kid entering school, you're making, you signed on for maybe $500,000, you're making more than your professors. What's the incentive to go to class other than just maybe or I wouldn't even say the incentive of going to class. Obviously, you need the grades to play, but what's the incentive to even take this professor seriously?
What let me ask this question to you directly. Let's say you were into the field of teaching.
I'm a professor.
Yes. So in that field, I'm a 17, 18-year-old kid sitting in your class. I'm making $20 million this year. And
I got an adjunct contract for $5,000 for the semester.
Yes. And so how do I in my mind, I'm looking at you like, Brad, you should know who I am, because I'm the $20 million man.
Yeah.
And you need to understand how this has to work, how this class has to work.
Or what is the pressure on professors now, right?
Yes,
because now
that's a better word for it.
What's the pressure? Because now he or she got some C's and D's. Are you now getting calls from that booster or that coach? Like, hey man, come on, man, you got to. It's a lot of money on the line now. Come on now. Are you going to face that pressure from the athletic department to pass these kids along because they made such an investment?
So there's somebody who just listened to what you just said, and toward the end there, where you start talking about, coaches contacting teachers because that kid's getting a D instead of they need him to get a B or whatever. he's saying that, folks, because that does happen.
Yeah.
I mean, and I know it's kind of hard to kind of come out and say, these types of things will happen in college, in major college ball. Getting a grade changed. Mm-hmm. These things do happen.
Yeah, and look, man, and
for $20 million,
for $20 million, that's what I'm saying. And then just like even if the calls aren't happening, I still think that professor will feel that pressure and just the animosity that some of these officials will have towards some of these kids. When, like you just said, you're in a classroom making $100,000, $1 million, whatever, as a player, and I'm barely paying my bills as a PhD professor,
and I'm legitimately in that class. Flirting with a D.
Flirting with a D,
and that I need to be a B.
Yeah.
So, who's the motivation? Like, where is the motivation, and who's it on?
See, and I just think that's why they've screwed this all up. The NCAA has just, as they often do, they just screwed something else up again. Because like I said, it should have been. Players weren't asking for this. At least this amount, they were just asking for a piece of the pie. But now I just don't see how we can call this amateur sports anymore, because it's just not. And then with Title IX, how does that work? Are you going to pay the football player at Alabama who's bringing in the bulk of the revenue $1 million, but what does the golfer make? What does the person on the swim team or other Olympic sports, do they make the same amount? Like, how does all these things, how are we going to navigate all these waters?
And what if the swimmer, the female swimmer, is the best swimmer in the conference, may win the championship, and you can't justify or even wiggle a way out of her not being the $20 million girl.
But you can, because ain't nobody, you're not filling up a swim meet with 100,000 rabid fans. So it's like you can justify it. Now, whether you can legally justify it, I don't know how you balance those things out, because now the money's coming from the school. It's not like it's coming from a booster. A booster can do what they want. They can place their money where they want.
But that school's they're getting that money still from a booster.
No. I mean, if they're saying the payments are going to come directly from the school, like if I'm a booster, I can earmark my money to where I want it to go.
Yes.
Now, if the payment's coming directly from that university, that state institution, how do I get away with paying this? Or can I? These are questions we got to ask, because you may be able to. You may be able to justify paying the quarterback $1 million a year because he's going to bring in 10 times 10x that revenue that you're paying him. But you got to justify playing like you said, the top female swimmer who ain't no revenue coming from that sport. But she's the best.
But she's the best.
You see what I'm saying?
And she is going to make the case. If I'm her, or I'm her parent, if I'm her dad, I'm like, she's no different than your number one guy on basketball, your number one guy in football.
That's a tough sell, but I understand.
It's a tough sell, but she's the best that you got.
She's the best at what she does.
What she does.
You know what I mean?
And is it because no one's saying that you can only get this if the revenue's coming in. If your sport is bringing in revenue, that's not spelled out there, which again goes to your point. There's a whole lot of stuff that still needs to be really worked out, because we know football generates the most money. But if you're paying, how are you paying these guys? Is it by skill? Is it by talent? Is it what is it by? Yeah. Because if that's the case, it doesn't matter how competitive women's swimming is.
Well, it's competitive. How many people are watching?
I'm just saying it doesn't really matter if I'm the best in the conference, and you're paying a guy who's one of the 11 or one of the 5. You're gonna pay him $20 million, and I'm the best in the valley. I'm the best in the state. I'm the best in the conference. How? And I'm a female, and I'm winning the national championship year after year. What are you going to do?
Yeah, and let's clean up something first, because it's not necessarily they can pay each athlete $20 million. What it is that
I read it that way.
Each school can set aside up to $21 million in revenue to share amongst the athletes per year.
Okay, see, I took that totally the other way.
Yeah. So it's so they'll have up to $20 million.
Okay, now that changes the
$21 million to share amongst the athletes, but still, it doesn't necessarily change the conversation because it's still how does that money get the most? Like how does that money get distributed?
Okay, so let's just say,
can they say this person even amongst the women's sports? So if I'm the best swimmer and maybe that's a big sport in my school and people actually come and pay to watch it, do I pay the top swimmer $10,000 per year and then the other people?
And the other question,
like, how does that work even amongst women's sports?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, and here's the other question: when you say all these different colleges, are you saying D2? And D3.
I mean, as far as the article states, this is more the way they're framing it is more about the Power 5 D1 conference schools. Now, again, as far as this revenue model, as far as amongst just within the school, they can choose to do this or not. So the schools doesn't have to do this, but to the point we just made earlier, or even last week, if you don't do it, then you're setting yourself behind the 8 ball. So if you're at a school and I say, okay, now you can get this NIL money, we're going to market you, you're going to get Powerade, McDonald's, woo, woo, woo. But in addition to that, we got this $21 million that we're going to split between amongst our student athletes. So it's almost like you have to do it. You don't have a choice.
All right, so I'm gonna go here with this, and I'm curious to see what you say. Okay, so if I'm a student athlete in the school, then I'm happy because I'm gonna be generating income, which I do support. The other question though, are we better off? Are we going to be better off even when this gets structured in the right kind of way? Yeah. Are we going to be better off in collegiate sports with the money in it or without the money? No, I mean,
that's a difficult question.
Yeah, because we knew, everybody knows that if you've been in sports, everybody knows there's always been money in sports. There's always been money. Under the table, in the pillowcase, whatever. Yeah. It's always been there.
I think if they would have done it right, I think we would have been better off. But I think the way in which it's being done now, and it doesn't seem like the entities involved, whether that's government, the NCAA schools, they're not really taking the time, in my eyes, to really figure it out in totality to come up with blanket rules. So in the short term, I don't think we're going to be better because I think we're going to have way too much movement. I think that instead of when you talk about movement, are you talking about transfers and all that, right? Because basically what's going to happen is like you'll have a kid at a lower D1, a James Madison or whatever. They'll go there and they're looking for the bigger opportunity, or even like a Maryland or WVU, they may go there for a while and then look for Marshall, look for the bigger opportunity. And in addition, I think now instead of you fighting, particularly in sports like football, basketball, instead of you fighting for the league, trying to get there, that's the ultimate goal. As you mentioned earlier, hey, if I can make a couple $100,000 in school, maybe that's enough with a degree and I can go ahead and start my life. So I don't know if you're going to have that same hunger. And I think the motivation is going to be different. We seen one of Dion's kids, he got sued and he had to file bankruptcy. And they were starting to look at his finance. He's making millions of dollars. I mean, just kind of I don't know. I just don't think, again, as a purist, I don't know if it makes it better.
When I think about it, I see it again. I go back and I've never been against paying college athletes because of the money that's in collegiate athletics as a whole, from the TV revenues and all that. I truly didn't believe that the school itself should be benefiting from all of that money, and the participants who are generating that money, making that money happen, get nothing. Mm-hmm. But I do think, and when I toss this around, to me, I think there should be just a straight structure of pay.
Yeah.
If you're this guy, everybody understands who the number one guy is, or whoever the coach identifies as the guy, the must-have guy, or the must-have guys. they get X dollars. Then the next crew gets X dollars. And then the last crew, if it's 3, 4, 5,
you have too much contention in that.
But we know. But come on, be honest with you. When you're playing, you realize you can look at somebody and say he's better than you. You may not say it out loud, and you may fight that you're better than him, but sometimes you just know.
Yeah, but
if the coaches make that decision, they could be wrong. And you could say, well, I'm better than Carl. I know I'm better than Carl. You all know I'm better than Carl. But if it's even if it's that close, why shouldn't we be in that top tier?
Because it's that number one. I'm not necessarily saying that's subjective, but what I am saying is that, who determines that? Who determines
who plays?
I mean, the coach would determine that?
Yes.
So the coach is now charged with not only determining what's going on in the football, he's determined everybody's paycheck?
He's already.
So
is he not? Is he not already
necessarily,
not dealing?
Not necessarily. It's about like AD booster. That's kind of who's been dealing it.
But they're not just going. They're not just. There's not going to be that AD or booster, whatever, going to be. Whoever this communicating guy is, or.
But again,
female,
I think
they're not going to go to you and say, "I'm going to give you, all right, I'm going to give you $4 million."
But I think
this particular season.
Once you do that, it's going to come. It's always going to be a negotiation happening because, for example, if I'm the backup now. And I come in half the season, I have a great year. Now I got to go back and negotiate. If I have a great game or a great play,
not so much. I'm not saying that
because you're not. The coach may not. It may not be set up that way, but if I'm a player and if I come in, if I'm at the C tier, I'm making C tier money, and then I come in, I have a string, maybe I'm off the bench or the starter gets hurt, and I come in and I have some baller games. I got 3 or 4 just great games. I'm okay. What's up with some more money now? Or the next season, we need to talk about more money now. I need to get bumped up to this tier. So it's constantly moving guys up and down. What I'm saying is that you make it a blanket by classification. Freshmen get paid this, sophomore, senior get paid it now. And then as far as everybody, and then you get bumps for all conference, all that. You make it incentive based, and then those guys who are those guys and those girls who are those girls, they'll get the Pepsis and the Gatorades and they'll get those deals, and they'll be able to maximize that way. But I'm saying if the school paying you, we paying you this, everybody getting this, ain't nobody getting nothing different. And then if you make this, and this, then that's where we bump it up. You can even bump it up for grades. So if you come in, you got a 3.5, you get a bump. You got a 4.0, you get a bump.
Caitlin Clark, okay? Yeah. Do you ever see her? And I'm saying she's having a good year, but she, it's probably not what she thought.
She's a rookie.
Yeah, she's a rookie. Do you think there's any player, any female athlete worthy? And I don't. That's not really the right word.
Definitely not.
Yeah, it's not the right. Yeah. Because my point is, I'm trying to figure out their value to their game is as great as my value to the game that I'm playing. But and so I'm unhappy with her pay, and I'm thinking if she's considered the top player.
Are you talking about when she's in college? You talking about now?
I'm talking about now. I'm talking about either way, though, even if she's in college, if she's in college, she, to me, would have been the highest paid player, or let's just say one of the highest paid players.
Yeah.
But how close is that to the highest paid male basketball player?
Again, that's what I'm saying. I don't.
Because I think at some point we have to make this turn and accept the reality that and I know that there might not be that many eyes on the game, not that many people coming to the game like it is like the NBA and all that kind of stuff. But the WNBA, these women deserve more money than they're getting.
No, they don't. They don't. They don't. And that's, and people say that just because they're, and I'm saying they're going to starting now moving forward, Yeah, they deserve more money, but you cannot have a subsidized league that's basically being funded by another whole organization that you're not making any money in this endeavor and then try to lobby for more pay. It doesn't work like that. Now, again, if you're making money, if the money's flowing, and then the owners and the administrators of that league are being greedy, they're not paying you justly. But we can't squeeze blood out of a turnip. Now it's turning around in which they're going to make the money. That league is going to grow exponentially. And what they're doing to the league, because everybody always talks about Caitlin Clark. She's not the only star to come out of that class.
And I get that. I just like it.
I know, I got you. But you have Angel Reese. You have the I forget her name. She's in L.A. You got some superstars that came out of that class. And if the WNBA maximizes and really markets those stars that they have in the league, you got the Asia from the Vegas Aces. You got some ballers in that league. So really start to market it better, then they'll be fine, and they're going to make the money. But you can't justify, because what hadn't happened in the past, the league ain't made money in the past. They lost. So you can't justify paying somebody with money you don't got.
All right. Well, all right, ladies and gentlemen, just want to let you know, our show is sponsored by attorney Frank Walker Law. Real talk, real experience, real results. And he'll take care of you. We'll be right back.
Let's Talk with Carl Lee is presented by attorney Frank Walker. Real talk, real experience, real results. FrankWalkerLaw.com. Comment on episodes, ask Carl and Hollis questions, or suggest topics at our Facebook page. Search for Let's Talk with Carl Lee, and remember to like the page to become part of the conversation.
Let's face it, bad things happen to good people. Seriously injured in a car accident, trucking accident, or even wrongfully arrested. Life happens, and when it happens to you, you will need sound legal advice and aggressive representation. That's when you call attorney Frank Walker at 304-413-0179. That's 304-413-0179. Lock it in your phone, text it to a friend. 304-413-0179. Or visit online at attorneyfrankwalker.com.
Find previous episodes of Let's Talk at WCHSnetwork.com/Let's Talk. This is Let's Talk with Carl Lee. Now, back to the conversation.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. And so, Hollis, you're changing, I guess you're changing the subject on me. And,
we're just adding on.
Just adding to it?
Yeah, because in addition to these new rules where the colleges can pay players, I don't know if it's already been set in stone, but there's definitely talks about it where the schools calls for an agreement between the NCAA and the various conferences that's going to pay like $2.7 billion into a pot over a 10-year period. Basically, it's going to go to pay about 14,000 former and college athletes. So yeah, I like that part of the rule. Not just football, former and current college athletes.
What I don't understand
from endorsement and sponsorship deals dating back to 2016.
Okay, what I don't understand about that piece of it is how are they do this? Like, you know, how are they do this money? How did it get to this situation? Like, do you know where this started, how this got started?
I know there's been various, like you said, even dating back to Ed O'Bannon, there's always been various lawsuits over time. Mm-hmm. Again, I don't know if this spawned out of a lawsuit. Maybe it's the NCAA deciding to do the right thing. Like I said, it only goes back.
I'm going to make the case that's probably not it.
Yeah, it only goes back to two athletes who played from 2016 to current date. But it is something where at least these former athletes, because I think when you talk about maybe 2016, you have these enormous TV deals. I think this was the time in which like the Texas and the Big Tens, everybody's getting their own networks and channels and different things of that nature. Gear and swag is going through the roof. So maybe that's why they base it on that. But I'm for it. I'm for this. This is a good thing where you can make sure some of those players reap the benefits.
There's no question about it. Anytime that you can. That you go back and you give back to players that are due, that you can come up with the reason why they're due, I think that's good. That's no different really than the NFL from a standpoint of paying players even for CTE and things like that. Now, the only bad thing about that from the NFL standpoint is they're just cheap on that side of it.
Yeah.
They're not. If they had their choice, they wouldn't have been part of any of that. So any organization who's out there that's actually willing to step back and say, okay, we were wrong, we're going to do this. I'll make the case, and not trying to switch sports, but I'd make the case that I don't think that the NFL cares one way or the other on how players have adjusted and how they deal with the issue of CTE.
See, and that's what I'm saying. I think just to bring that home, when you take a look like the NFL versus the WNBA, the NFL got it. They got the money to pay players, to play former players for injuries that they sustained, for all that. WNBA ain't got it, right? At least they didn't have it. I think they starting to get it now. But in addition, and just to kind of clean up the initial point, when we talk about that paying former players, this is not only going to come from like the major 5 conferences, the Power 5 conferences, but it's also going to be comprised of 69 other schools and some smaller schools as well. So, a bunch of athletes will be
getting paid,
but getting the back pay. So they'll see a bunch of that money. So that's a good thing.
See, and that's money. That's money that's been generated.
Yeah.
Through, because it's billions.
Yeah,
it's billions. It's billions of dollars that they have taken in, and they get. Owners get in the NFL. The owners are getting crazy revenue, but they're not interested in. They're not interested in trying to do the right thing.
And see, and that's what I'm saying. I think that once we start opening, because I think the way the owners in the NFL, they're viewing players as a commodity, right? You're a means to an end. You're a commodity. Again, I'm not saying everybody views them like that way, but they're certainly not the 52nd guy on the roster, 53rd. He's a guy. He's a body. He's a commodity. And I think the beauty of what college sports was that you're, at least the good coaches, the administration school, you're viewing this person in totality. So you're worried about what they do on the field or on the court, but you're also worried about how they conduct themselves on and off that field or court, but also what they're doing in the classroom and making sure they're getting a degree and they are participating in student activities. You're trying to develop a whole person. But now paying these athletes, I think they're just going to be viewed as commodities. And if you're not performing, you're not living up to just this little standard, you're gone. There is no more grace.
Is that the fear to pay?
I think that's the unintended consequences, that there's going to be very little room for grace. And like I said, if you're not living up to what we set up, this money that we paying out for you, hey man, we got to cut ties with you immediately.
Well, and because that's a fact in professional sports, and that's really where they're coming to. Whether or not they know it or not, they're becoming, quote, a collegiate professional sport.
Yeah, it's a profession. That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
It's like that's where it's going now.
And
so I think the same rules, the same sort of heartless motives that these high level execs move with, that's where it's going to be.
Yeah, the same person who signs that contract and you're excited is going to be the same person who's going to be the one that's going to tell you got to go home.
Yeah, you got to go. And it's not going to be because you're not a good person. It's not going to be because you're not performing in the classroom. It's because, hey, you don't fit what we're trying to do on the field of court. And now, we got to bring somebody else. We can't afford to keep paying you and you're sitting the bench.
And
that ain't going to work.
Yeah, because that does not work for us financially first. Yeah. And the crazy thing about sports, ladies and gentlemen, is it is a business. And the more the money comes into it, the bigger the business. Yeah. And collegiate sports is becoming a business.
Yes. Big business.
Big business.
It's been big business.
And it's
business.
Because now you basically got employees.
Yeah.
You got employees, and the expectation that you have of those employees is bigger than be on time.
Yeah, but now let me ask you this:
Tuck your jersey.
but now is it like, hey, if you ain't on time, I'm docking you 100. I'm docking you 50. I'm docking you 1,000. Does it work like that now? Where like if you get in trouble, if your grades drop below this, oh yeah, we docking you.
Yeah, I think it almost has to. I think it almost has to, because if you allow me to have a couple of D's and barely get to 2.0, we're risking somebody's money. We're risking the university's money, and whoever the donor was who gave them that money. We can't do that. and to that point, does the school hold you as the head coach or the money person? Do they hold you accountable to make sure that you make sure those changes need to be made in that amount because of where these kids are academically and or socially?
That's going to be an interesting question, because I think now it seems to me like you would almost have to hire like a GM, so to speak. Particularly, like I'm saying, if you're dealing with like a Alabama or Florida State, one of the really real mega universities, those Power Fives, do you hire like a GM? Do you hire like a sort of a manager to keep those things intact? Because frankly, trying to run a program, trying to recruit, trying to fundraise and do all these things as a head coach, as you know, you don't have time for nothing else. So how you gonna add this too? So it seems like you almost had to hire another body
or bodies. Because you're gonna. I mean, you can't wait till the end of the semester and figure out what your grades are. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like there's a monitoring structure here that has to be able to say Hollis he's fine. We ain't got no issues with him. Mm-hmm. Even before I sign you, I need to have already gone back and checked. If you 2-0, 2-1, you right there by that level, how you gonna be in my office trying to get top dollar?
That's what I'm saying. I just think the conversations is going to switch from like conversations about life and what are you going to do, with football or basketball? What are you going to do with once that ends, career, family? Now the conversation be like, man, what's up with this contract? We need to have this incentives, or we need to do this or do that, or I want this or I want that.
I have a personal question to ask you.
Yeah.
Okay. So way back in the beginning when we started doing the show, you were talking and was talking about your outlook. By the time I got to state where your mindset was, you were solely academic, and football was just something to kind of assist you with the cost of it.
Yeah.
So now put yourself in that spot this coming college season. Mm-hmm. You're at Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. You are thinking the exact same way right now as you were then.
Yeah.
Is that enough? Is the money enough to change your mind to go after? Or are you still locked into just like I just lost the love for the game?
Man, if I'm telling you, if there was an opportunity and I had the opportunity to make a similar amount like the kid in Florida where he was supposed to make the $14 million and all that, I would be going balls to the wall for that bread. Because at the very least, how I think I would process it would be like, even if the NFL don't work out, this is a great down payment on life. So even if I could come out of here, saying 3-4 years and I can make a couple $100,000 or even just $100,000, this is a great down payment on my life moving forward. So I think now my motivation would have been totally, because now I don't have to go to the league. I don't have to play that long if I don't want to. I could focus, really get my academics and really figure out where I'm going. I could pay for law school cash. I don't have to take out debt. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I was going to say, what it does, it offers you an opportunity to better yourself for whatever the amount of money it is, it's more than you would have had doing nothing. So now as a student athlete, whether it's 100,000, 50,000, you now have a jump on life with being able to walk out and take $50,000 with you and start from there. I don't think you can beat it being there. The only thing that I would say,
but are most kids thinking that way? I think some of them will be, and I
well, that's
think,
why I asked you because of your mindset.
And I think what's going to happen is that those kids in the Olympic sports who really realize that a professional thing ain't really
that's
happening.
a whole nother story, man.
They're going to take full advantage of that if they start to get paid. But I think the guys maybe who are teetering, thinking maybe professional, there's an opportunity, the football, basketball, guys and girls, they may be the ones end up blowing that money. You know what I mean? You see what I'm saying?
Yes. But your point about the Olympic athlete, I didn't want to interrupt you, but I was like chewing at the bit. Okay, that's a whole nother athlete.
Yeah.
That's a whole. I win a gold medal.
Well, no, I mean Olympic sports.
Let's just say I end up qualifying for the Olympics. I'm a swimmer.
Okay, got you.
I'm a track guy.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm getting 100, 150. I go to the Olympics. I win the gold medal.
No, okay, I see where you're going. You get paid for that gold medal, and now you get endorsements. And now I can come back to college.
I can get the endorsements, but what are you going to pay me? Am I coming back to you?
Oh, okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like the one. I forget the young woman's name. She was a great. I forget her name. She's a great swimmer, and then she goes to Texas. She was still at Texas University, and she was killed. She won like 1 million gold medals over there. That's it. That's interesting conversation.
Yeah, because
that's interesting.
I'm the best in the world.
The best in the world.
I'm the best. Yeah. And you can't say that as a football player. You might be the best guy on the team. You might be the most valuable player in the conference or whatever, but that don't necessarily
You can't say that right now.
Yes.
You definitely can't say that.
But when you walk on campus with that Olympic medal,
and those Olympic athletes can come from any school.
Any school.
It might be one at Marshall right now.
Yes.
And they go win a bronze or silver, and then they come back to Marshall like, what's up?
What are you gonna pay me?
I'm the second. I'm the first best in the world right now. What you got for me? That's a good question.
I mean, see, all of these pieces are they thinking? Are they aware of that potential?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I just think, like I said, when you do it like this, it just causes way too much chaos.
We saw what happened. We saw chaos already, and I think now, chaos. We saw chaos. Yeah. Chaos has already been there once, but now here we are with a new kind of approach to it, and they think, somebody's sitting there thinking, okay, this is
like I said. I just don't see why you just don't make it like scholarships, like in D2 or D3 or whatever, you get a certain amount of scholarships per school. Every school got the same scholarships. Yep. And I'm saying, like, if you Power 5, you got the same levels of pay, you got the same money in the pocket level, and there's, like I said, freshman, sophomore, senior, D2, D1, no, not the FCS now. So I'm saying, like, just make it simple. Why even, like, if you're gonna put rules around it, why make these arbitrary rules where you can opt in, you can opt out, and do this? It just doesn't make sense, man.
I think this is gonna really be interesting, and I think the fan base. I'm curious about where the fan base finds themselves in this situation, because sometimes you've seen this situation where your favorite football player's contract's up. You're hoping he gets signed. You're happy because he gets his money. And if he doesn't get his money, then what? You're angry too. And so does that fan base, are you going to lose a fan base because of your star athlete?
Nah, I don't think so. If you're a WU fan if you're a WVU fan, you don't care who you care who the quarterback is, but that quarterback leave.
But if it's because they don't pay, because I'm telling you, in the NFL, when a player leaves, and because the team doesn't want to match or doesn't want to pay him, the fan base is upset.
Yeah, but those people from Minnesota, from South Dakota, that been Viking fans their whole life, they gonna be fans. Now, to your point, that's gonna happen. If somebody's a WVU Marshall, they're not getting paid to leave, they're gonna be pretty mad at the administration, but they're still gonna be fans. I don't think it shakes up the fan base like that. But like I said, just like sports betting, just like,
but you're going to be
sports,
mad.
It changes the dynamic.
You're going to get mad. You got to get mad at somebody, and somebody who's behind the scenes who are actually controlling the money. Okay, I'm mad at you because you're the coach. I'm mad at you because you didn't keep such and such.
Yeah,
I'm going to be mad at you.
Yeah, like I said, it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Because how did y'all let such and such? How did y'all let Caitlin Clark get away?
Yeah,
why didn't y'all sign her?
That's what I'm saying. The dynamic is going to change. Like the dynamic and the conference, just how fantasy sports and gambling and different things of that nature has changed the talking points around sports. This is going to change it too. And particularly, and that's what, and I guess that's the part that I hate the most, because college sports to me was like the last of the last. It was the last of the big sports that you could see every week on TV.
That you're playing for. You're playing for the benefit of the team, school, all of that.
So I think now, and it's like, and now we even seeing, like, not necessarily with the money per se, which that might be opening up too soon, but even like high school sports, just how fluid kids go from school to school. So it's like sports in general, they just don't have the same. And again, I hate to sound like the old uncle or something like that, but they just don't have the same.
That's normally me.
Yeah, but they just don't have the same, feeling as what they had once upon a time.
And I think I've said this before. I'm going to say it again. If we do this in high school in the state of West Virginia, we pay kids to play.
You totally done with that.
I'm just telling you, if you better have people, if you vote for it, you better have people that can pay in your community who's gonna support your school for that kid to get money, because I guarantee you there are going to be people and other programs in other areas, in other counties, who going to pay for your kid to come to their school.
Yes. Yeah, man.
And what's going to happen is every time you get a star, he leaving your county.
Yeah.
And he's going to another county because there's more money. He can get more money, or she can get more money.
A job,
all that.
Now it's all just in the open. But I don't know. I just think the sanctity that was sports is now just, is dwindling. And I think, when we look at women's sports, I think that's why it's so much more intrigued, because I think again, they have it in women's sports too, but I think just that grit that once upon a time we had is just, it's gone with male sports. You know what I mean? That's why I can't wait for the Olympics, because I think that is a time where you're seeing somebody who's built up 4 years of training and practice to come to this one event that might last 30 seconds. They're truly going to give it everything. Not to say that other people don't, but it's truly about that moment and nothing else.
And I'll go with you on that and say and add to that 4x1, 4x2.
Yeah.
All those kind of relay races, those 4 or 5 people, because you always got somebody in case.
Alternate, yeah.
Got to have somebody in case somebody goes down. That group is the closest group of any sport. You drop a baton, in practice, I'm sure there's conversation about it. Come on, we got to get that down.
Because you ain't getting other opportunity.
Because you don't get another opportunity.
It's one and done.
It's one and done. We only got one chance, so we can't ever drop it in practice.
Yeah.
All we should be doing is looking at how good it is, the handoff is, so we know we're getting better.
Because you mess up in that qualifying rounds, you're done.
You're done.
See, that's why I think if the Olympics really marketed this, I think this could be like, it could be the renaissance of the Olympics, because this is the Olympics is truly the last great sporting event in my eyes.
And I'll give you that. And I'll even say this: if you want to pay somebody,
pay them.
Pay them.
Yeah, they get paid. They get paid a little bit, but it's not nowhere close to what.
If it was anything close to that, we'd already know about it.
Because I just think, to me, like I listened to sports talk radio and just fantasy football, gambling,
all that
just the pain, the transfers, everything has just purely diluted my whole sports experience. I love football, love basketball, baseball, but it just ain't the same, at least for me.
And see, that's again, I rarely watch a sport, like rarely watch a football game, right? Like just because it's ruined. I feel like it's like this dude is probably making more money in a week playing. I ain't hating, okay? I ain't hating. No, than I've made, in maybe a whole season. And I'm still trying to figure out, what accolades does he have?
See, he right place and right time.
I get that, and I could only wish, Hollis. I could only wish that I could be second Pro Bowl going into season, contract up. Now. I just would love to go into there.
You get paid.
I'd be getting paid.
Now you would get paid as a quarterback. That's such a skilled position, such a difficult position to play. Now you getting paid.
I think that, and it's why I think that the Olympics is the most. This is really a special kind of a thing,
and it has the opportunity to just be so much more this year.
I love it all the time.
Yeah, I do too. I grew up watching it. So.
And I'm why are you saying that you think this one's going to be better than?
Because I think that where we are at in sports, I said, the purity of watch baseball, football. It's always conspiracy theories and all this, and you have a bunch of you listen to go on the internet. It's a bunch of old basketball NBA guys. Talking heads, just talking crap about the sport all the time, right? And you factor in everything else we've just said. I think this is the opportunity, like you said, where this 4x1 group been running together for 4 years.
Yes, working.
And this is it. They don't get no second chances. Ain't the next season is 4 years, and those group might not be together.
They not that's not gonna work.
The person, the guy and girl doing a long jump, or the men and women, on the doubles tennis, or the badminton team. This is it. You know what I mean? And so you don't got time to be a prima donna in this moment.
And I know some people have critiqued some of the new events that they've included into the Olympics. Yeah. You still have to be great at it.
You still got to be great at it.
You still have to be great at it.
And the thing is, you get one time every 4 years.
Yes.
That power lifter who's doing a clean and press, clean and press, or whatever it is, a hang clean, that's a 10-second thing that you got to get right now in this moment, and you do not get another shot.
You do not get another chance.
Your focus has got to be on such a different level, because in football player, what do we say? Next play.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're gonna get a next play.
Olympics,
ain't no next play in this.
No.
This is it.
That's what makes it.
Yeah.
I think the greatest sporting event.
Yeah.
Of all time.
I think so too. And we got to get a former Olympian on here. We got to get somebody talk about that experience.
That would. I can't even imagine being in it.
Yeah, just what I'm saying.
Just to be in it would be crazy. We need to do a little bit of research on that one. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you can catch all the shows One, you can get it on Facebook. You can get all the updates there on Facebook. We also air the show on Sunday at 1 p.m. and Thursday at 7 p.m. on 580 WCHS. Any topic that you would like to have us talk about, feel free to contact me on Let's Talk Carl Lee on Facebook, and me and Hollis will try to find a way to address it. All right, we're going to get out of here, so we will get back with you again soon.
Let's Talk with Carl Lee is presented by attorney Frank Walker. Real talk, real experience, real results. FrankWalkerLaw.com. Comment on episodes, ask Carl and Hollis questions, or suggest topics at our Facebook page. Search for Let's Talk with Carl Lee, and remember to like the page to become part of the conversation.
If you fall, dust it off and get back up on your feet. Anything could be a win, yup, even defeat. They say sugar bad for you, wise victory sweet. Couldn't play with big kids, I had to sit in the street and watch from a distance, but over time I grew. If I put in the work, in no time I'm due. Everything that I worked and prayed, I'm okay. If you ask me, how did I do it, I'm gon' say, you gotta work, grind, shine, it's mine. Gotta show everybody it's my time. Getting here, you gotta work, grind, shine, never mind who talking down, cause they lying. Don't talk, you gotta work. 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 You gotta work.